like you get the tag, which is the inferior phrenic artery. So the inferior phrenic artery is the very first lateral branch that you're going to see, and then you're going to see it go up and underneath to the diaphragm. Now, someone's also tagged that superior suprarenal artery right there coming off of there, but remember it's not on your list, so I won't ask you that. The next branch that we see coming off of this abdominal aorta is going to be our middle suprarenal artery, and of course we would have the adrenal gland here to make it nice and easy to see what it is. Our next big lateral branch is going to be our renal artery. So the renal artery is pretty easy to tell because it'll go into the kidney, fan out, be nice and big. The next lateral branch that we're going to see is going to be coming off the side of the abdominal aorta, and that's going to be the testicular artery in this situation. But remember, if you wanted to, you could just call it the gonadal vessels, and that works as well. So if you say testicular artery and it happens to be a female cadaver, then you wouldn't get any points for that. But if you say gonadal artery, you get points. Okay? Now, the next branches that we're going to see are going to come off the posterior aspect of the abdominal aorta. So let's get our lumbar arteries. Highlight those. Let's do a nice little. Where did they go? Oh, I tagged something else. They're already there. Try that tag in a blue color. Okay, so we can see highlighted there all of those lumbar arteries. Remember, that's going to be coming off the posterior aspect of the abdominal aorta as opposed to coming off the lateral aspect. And then as you can see right through there, if we get rid of that anterior longitudinal ligament right here, we can see that it's just setting right there on top of the lumbar vertebra. Now, as this continues to go down, it's going to come to the termination point where we'll see it branch into two different sides, and we'll also see the median sacral artery pop off. So let's add that on. So right there on top of the sacrum, I should have highlighted it. We can see that artery right on top of it in the middle. There we go. So you see right there, now that's coming off the posterior aspect as well. So you have those lumbar arteries, they come off the backside just like the posterior intercostal arteries came off the backside of the descending aorta. And then here at the termination point, we find that median sacral artery. Now the next thing we're going to see is the iliac arteries. So we're going to just put in iliac, and we'll add them all there. So as this terminates, we come to the common iliac artery. Change it to a white color. And then we can see these next two branches. One stays external, and we can see that it's going towards the inguinal ligament. Remember, that is our external iliac artery. And then one's going to go inside the pelvis, right through here. So as we look inside towards the sacrum, we can see the internal iliac artery. And that's the termination of the abdominal aorta. As it passes under the inguinal ligament, it's going to become the femoral artery. Remember down there at that femoral triangle, we have this right through here. Remember our triangle? Right through there. You're going to have that navel, which will be the femoral nerve, artery, vein, and then the lymphatic vessels will travel. So remember that mnemonic navel as it passes under the inguinal ligament. We don't need to know that because it's not on our test, but it's good to remember that stuff. Now there's a couple of variations that we want to take a look at when we talk about the veins versus talking about the arteries. There's not many of them, but one of the big ones we want to talk about is going to be the left gonadal vein is going to be different from the other vein. Let me see what's the best way to do this. Maybe that's the best way. Inferior vena cava, inside our renal veins. So right here, we've added in the inferior vena cava. We'll make it a nice little blue color. And then off the side, we can see the renal veins. Nothing special there. It looks pretty much similar to the other one. The thing that's going to be different is that coming off that left renal vein, we're going to see our left testicular vein. So if we look there on the left side, you can see right there, that left testicular vein comes off the left renal vein. But if we look here on the right side, you can see that the right testicular vein is coming off the actual inferior vena cava, which is similar to what we saw when we looked at the abdominal aorta. We saw both of the gonadal vessels coming off the aorta, but in this situation, there's a structural difference. Now, the next thing we want to make sure we take note of is that suprarenal vein. So let's look for that. And remember, with the vein, there's only one. There's not a superior, middle, and inferior. There's just suprarenal vein. So we'll add the gland onto there. Let's suprarenal. No, it's not on here. So let's draw it. We can't see it on the models for sure. We saw that yesterday, but we're going to see coming off of the renal vein here and going up into here, this structure like this, and there may be a couple of them, but they're all going to feed in from that one common source. So remember, we said yesterday, if you see the vein, it's just suprarenal vein. There's no middle, inferior, superior. Okay? Any questions about those? Let's take a look at the portal vein.